we're giving out grants, so we definitely have.
It's a good time for you to be here, yeah.
But you just,
To
your
get
event
involved
just
again.
finished too.
Yeah, and I mean, we had a little bit of or email
Yeah, I'm so
documents, but
sorry.
we just made copies tonight, so it'll be on December's meeting.
That's fine, and I just,
The report.
Showcase for all the same thing, I just got theirs today and I sent it tonight, I said both of those will be on the report next
Yeah,
time.
I just wanted to get involved.
For sure.
Listen in.
There is an opening on the Arts Commission if you have any interest.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that, I just am not
We got
here
one
all
meeting
year, and,
Juanita's applying.
Oh, good, oh, we do, okay, great. Yeah, I
I'll
think
pass
we
the
also
word
have
on.
a rate.
that is
That's
great.
all. Yeah.
So this is the Bisbee Arts Commission, opening today on Monday, November 5th at 5:30 p.m. Call to order, we're gonna go ahead and do a roll call.
Karen Schumacher,
President.
Sharon Stetter,
Present.
Laura Morgan,
Present.
Kate Drew Wilkinson,
Present.
Bill Higgins,
Present.
Nina Williams, present.
And so we're not waiting, we're gonna go ahead, but Poe and Kathy may be joining us. And the first thing is to call to public, which I assume if you're not speaking this evening, it was just us. So nothing on the call to the public, right? Kenbo is supposed to be joining us, so I would like to move, let's see what agenda item he is.
He is down at the bottom.
I wanted to move his up
We can-
higher just in
we
case he
can.
did come, so he doesn't have to stay through the whole
If he
meeting, but
comes in, we'll,
give me 1 second, I feel like I hear his voice, hold on.
He does have a distinguished voice.
So you don't know if it's a boy or a girl? Yes.
I persuaded, it was me, I persuaded them not to find out.
I had told them that I thought it was a bad idea.
But did you? To find out or not to find out?
Tonight, don't find out.
No,
But
don't.
I was promoting not to find out.
Yes,
I didn't
me
want to
too.
know it might-
Me
So,
too.
Ken Bo's joining us, so I'd like to, after item 1 and item 2, which are approval of the minutes, we're gonna go ahead and make Ken's item 3, so you don't have to stay through the whole meeting if you don't want to. So we're switching. I'm trying to find what number yours is, Ken.
9.
We'll put 9 after 2, okay?
That's good.
Alright. So first, item 1, approval of the minutes of May 7th, 2018 meeting. Did anybody have anything to add? I know it's been a little while.
I don't remember.
Well, they are in here as well. If you guys want to take a moment, look over them.
Ooh, they've got some more papers. April.
Should be right under the
Yeah,
first
those
sheet.
stuff. We could move it.
Cool. May.
I vote to approve the minutes.
You move to approve the
Verbally,
minutes of
that's what I mean.
May 7th, 2018.
Yep.
I second that approval. All ayes?
Aye.
Any nays? Alright, let's go on to item 2. You guys want to take a moment to look over the minutes of September 10th. Item 2 is approval of the minutes of September 10th, 2018 meeting. And that should be directly after the May 7th agenda, because I just got it all here.
I wasn't really giving him a chance, it's on here.
Oh, I like this.
That we forgot anything, but I
See
forgot.
it, where are
It's
Hang on.
right after the May
It's the
7th.
third page.
It's the third page.
Oh, this one.
One,
This is,
two,
okay,
3.
this is the one I was reading.
I'm getting 1, 2, 3.
Right there.
There.
Yeah, perfect.
Right there.
Those are the minutes.
Yeah. Oh, this is a pretty good subject, I must say.
Is there anything that anybody sees?
Controversial.
Okay. Let's give it a couple more minutes to look over.
Just interested in paint and things like that. Did you do the research, Mr. Stetter?
Yeah, I did.
It's attached to,
Ooh.
towards the back.
I actually did a bit of research on my own too. I can send it to you if you
Okay.
want.
And I can send it out to anybody.
How do we stand up to other cities and towns?
If you don't know, we'll wait for the we're gonna talk about it on the agenda, but do I have a motion?
Yeah, accepted, you have a motion to accept the meetings, the minutes of
To
the
approve.
September 10th, approve those minutes.
I second that, all ayes?
Aye.
Any nays? All right, let's go on. All right, we're gonna go to Mr. Ken Bo is here after
This will be towards the,
a long summer away.
like, right there.
So item 9, discussion and possible action regarding funding the other half of Ken Bo's grant application. Is everyone, I don't know if everyone was here for this, Ken Bo applied for a grant to, well, if you don't, explain what you wanted to do or what you did.
Well, the Bisbee Poetry Normalization Project, what I did was, the grant was for putting these poems together and posting them around town on telephone poles and bulletin boards. And I do have several examples from that run, if anybody likes to look at them. These are menu covers that they're in. So I print them out and experimented with different papers. White is the easiest to read.
Are you just one poet, you, or are there other people?
Well, it was for myself to do it, though I did invite other poets into it. So there was one by Megan Connolly, and that was put up around town. And then there were a couple other poets that are still working on it. They have had a hard time finishing something.
How many of them did you put up, Ken?
Well, you know, I never counted them, but probably several dozen around town in that period. And I also put some up around the country in my travels this summer.
That's cool.
So that there's a little Bisbee in Bozeman, Montana, and Jacksonville, Wyoming, and Salt Lake City. So I haven't heard anything back from anyone about that, but I'd like that little bonus to share that in other cities, share Bisbee in other places, Flagstaff, Phoenix. So now, and there's a lot more I can do in that regards because I keep getting more ideas. One thing that spun off of this when Biz Beans and Rice was operating was we did 3 live streamed
Yeah.
poetry readings under the auspices of this as well because they responded to that. And so those are still floating around on YouTube. I don't know that I did quite as great a job as Kate did with her show. I really was
She was a
fond of what
natural.
she did.
Thank you.
But,
We're gonna do more too, by the way.
well, I was hoping I'd run into you sometime and ask if you were going to continue that in
It's
some
planned,
way.
I can tell you sometime.
Great. Because I had some ideas too about what you might be able to do. But
I appreciate the fact that you mention on the front of here that it is sponsored by, you know, as well as the support you get the Bisbee Arts Commission. So that, I think that warrants your getting a second chance at this and the other half of your grants.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing.
Well, I love the idea, I mean, I
Me
love
too.
the idea of having art in unexpected places.
Absolutely.
And actually, when that, I don't know, if you all get the chance to read the one about City Hall burning down, or you mentioned that in the
well,
one.
it's in there. You
Yeah,
know.
it's
But
in
my
there.
poetry can be fairly ambiguous. I turn metaphors within metaphors within metaphors, but it's in there, and that was my partly a gift back to.
It was a beautiful, it's a beautiful, if everybody has a chance, I
can read
all
it
of your
if you want.
poetry is great, but that one I
Oh, the
found very,
second one is, yeah.
it's
The
the one,
vulnerable
vulnerable
commitment.
commitment. But I love the idea of art showing up in an unexpected place, and I thought that did that very well.
Yes, it's in here.
And so we did a caveat with you, which was we gave you half of it,
Right.
and then the other half was going to be given depending on what you wanted to do and what we decided.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so here I am.
And you said that you turned in a final report?
Yeah, I emailed that to you because.
To me or to the
you-
city?
To you. Maybe I should have sent it, because I
Usually-
I just found it on my Gmail and emailed it to you and Sharon, who are in my email, just a a half
I
an
didn't
hour
see it.
ago.
Oh, I didn't see it yet.
Oh, okay.
It's, I found it, it was sent to you, but it was based on what the city sent me. There,
That's right.
and,
When did you send it to me, Ken?
April.
It's not showing up, but I don't understand why.
Well, I replied to the original email I sent you, and then I copied it again in case it got truncated, but.
Well, if anybody, while I look for it, does anybody have any questions for Ken?
Do you like doing this?
I do like doing it.
Okay.
I like the waterproofing too.
Well, it's still ephemeral art, you know, it's not gonna last forever, but it's been interesting to watch them age with, when rain has gotten in there, and the ones that are, the ink is waterproof, have yellowed but held up, including the first one that's right in front of the, well, what's now the bathtub coffee house on Subway.
So have these been in the rain?
Those haven't,
Haven't.
no, those haven't been posted yet.
I see.
Those were some extra ones I had that I put together. I still have the ability to do dozens more of these with the menu covers. And,
They're great, that's a really wonderful,
so they're recycled
Upcycle,
menus
yeah.
from Yellowstone National Park. Where I've worked for many years, they gave them to me, they would throw them out. And, I have other things I do with recycled materials.
What I would love to see too is what somebody mentioned, the idea of getting other poets involved as well. I mean, I love your poetry, but the idea of getting more Bisbee poets involved sounds like a great idea.
I'd like to, Ramsey was supposed to do one, but then he got shy about some of the content he had in it, but we worked through it. We rewrote it, we got it formatted and ready for him to go and pick up the copies, and then he decided that because there was some context there that he was a little bashful about sharing. And I think the same thing happened to another gal that was gonna do it.
Well, I have no problem with going forward. I mean, I know that, so we gave you 250, is that correct? And then the other 250 was supposed to be a few months ago because you were working in Yellowstone. So
I will make a motion that we continue with this and give you the other half of the grant.
And I second that. The only caveat being that the deadline is different than everybody else's grant paperwork that's due because we have extended it. So almost everybody else has gotten theirs back in. So if you could, you know, the last sheet, you said that you already filled it out and sent it to us.
Yes, you'll find that you have.
Yeah, I
I'm
couldn't-
sorry, I guess I never heard back from you, I should have followed up again.
Yeah, and I just didn't see it. If you can resend me that information.
Well, I just did today.
Okay. See, I still don't have, I don't know what email you're sending it to, Ken.
Oh,
Can I ask a little question
We'll
about
talk, I'll
subject
send you an email and you can respond to
Sure.
that one. And just forward that along. And then also,
well, I attached Sharon to it this time also.
Okay, I'll look for it, I just didn't know, but
You might
I've
sure you
been
got it.
busy all afternoon.
well, after, in a few months, we'll ask you to come back and talk about it.
Sure, I'd
okay?
love to.
Alright.
Can I ask a quick question from today? Just
Sorry.
about content of the poetry. Is there any kind of yeah,
Yeah, like site-specific or contextual to
Yeah.
where it goes up, that sort of
you
thing?
know, if it's jaded or, you know,
Well, I'm trying to be, I'm trying to have poems which
positive and loving.
are positive and loving, but not fake either.
No, no,
You know,
right.
you want a little
But
juxtaposition in
sometimes
there.
ruminations can be ruminations, and poetry ruminations can have, I don't necessarily mean anything sexual or anything like that, I just
Right.
mean there can be, I'm a poet, so I was just asking.
Well, then, I know it's, I think there's a lot of room
That's
for
what it's about.
creating serious poetry without offending anyone.
Well, that is really the question.
The other part of it is how much does the content maybe have some synchronicity with the town, you know?
That's it, yes.
And so I'm kind of addressing that too, and I have done that, like this one, A Vulnerable Commitment. Another one, Looking Down, was because I saw this telephone pole by the ground, and I wrote the poem.
But I mean, we've got a fair amount of controversy one way or another in Bisbee, and we also have quite a lot of poets. I'm throwing those two questions kind of together.
Yeah, now the one poem, Friendly Fire, that was also commissioned by Peter Chartrand when he had Bisbee Clay, because he wanted one in there, and I had to use the term friendly fire. That has some metaphors about social media, and so that one kind of, touched on some of the wars on social media a little bit, but I think in a humorous manner.
So if
I think it's right before.
if somebody wants to go in, somebody in town would like to submit, they just send it up on an email to you and you make a decision about what happens next?
Well, I'll help them format it and guide them on what I think is best.
And I think the only thing that we had spoken about, I mean, I don't wanna censor any poet, is just not making anything that was sexually explicit.
Well, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are so many directions to go into in poetry, and then there are all the different eyes that read it. That's
Right.
a lot of
It's
that's
true.
a lot of
No.
mixture.
In this sense, there's a risk that we all take here. I want to manage it responsibly, to both being a credible, serious artist who's not just, quote unquote, kissing butt or something, at the same time, finding places where that poetry can bridge over to whoever may randomly read it, local or from out of town, or if it gets a picture up and it goes on the internet, or I post it in another town. There's still, where I can still find many things to talk about that,
And if you
don't have to, be offensive to different people's triggers. Now, some people may have the most unusual triggers, and we can't avoid that necessarily.
That's the way the world is. And
But,
don't worry about that too much.
Well, there's also room for a thing called enchantment, where poetry is simple, fine, and if you watch somebody go by and read it, they walk away smiling.
Yes.
That's
Well, I am stuck with my own techniques, which are very in-depth, and I rewrite
like
my
that.
works.
We're all stuck with our own. I like that.
But I agree with you, and I have looked. I do welcome the challenge to, bring this into my techniques.
But a lot
What
of
was the
people don't
term
want
you
to be
used?
molded.
What
A lot
was-
of people don't want to be moulded. They do what they do, and if it works, it works. and
Right.
But if it only works for you, then that's a.
Well, I hope I'm beyond that, though poetry, to a certain extent, may only work for the limited audience that chooses to appreciate it. I mean,
that's the beauty of the whole project, is that hopefully getting to an audience that doesn't read poetry on a regular basis, and so getting it up there is
Yeah.
what's very lovely
That
about
is
it.
a very.
It
That
could be
actually
one
brings
line
up
to some
my
degree.
question.
Mhm.
How often are you posting?
Well, during the first run, it was, it really started when we first were gonna do it, which was November, though it wasn't approved till later, until, April. So I started doing it last November, and then it went, and I kept posting through April, along with some that Megan posted.
So are we talking like weekly posts in different areas, or monthly posts, or?
Oh, I probably posted something. I probably posted something every week,
Every week.
somewhere. I would say I did it in a rhythm that was not unlike how you might find them. And I tried to put them in different places around Bisbee, not just Old Bisbee, for instance.
Right, yeah.
So there was an organic nature to how and when I posted them to some extent, but it was done in due diligence, I think.
Okay, and then my other question is, do you plan on having a public forum sort of situation like you did with Bisbee's and Rice?
Well, that was a spin-off, I didn't pretend to predict what would spin off of this, but knew that things would. I've seen some other people post poems on their own volition, for instance, in different media, collage, some other things.
And have you
I don't
reached
know
out
if
to
that
them?
was triggered by what I did, or if they just were gonna do that anyways,
And what happens if people pick up on the idea and they just sort of people start popping up their own. Is that all right with people?
Well,
It's
you
lovely.
wouldn't be responsible for it anyways, I suppose,
I'm not
because,
talking about me, I'm just talking about people. Can it catch on and be free?
well, I hope so, Now, is poems, you know, I think it was in the 90s that there was a public campaign to put poems in buses and subways, and I think Dick Bachman, who's a Bisbee poet, was one of the first that got published in San Diego on buses.
In San Diego also, in the East Village in San Diego, they have poetry on the sidewalks, because people when they're walking are always looking down, and so the poetry as you walk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now there's an idea.
Right, in a sense, this is somewhat of a straitjacket, the way it's presented. There could be much more fluid ways of doing it, but this is the way that I was inspired to do it when I saw those empty menu covers in the trash. And the idea just came to me like a vision, so I'm doing it.
Any other questions? Does anybody have a motion?
We already had a motion and a second, we just need a.
Okay. Are you guys ready to vote?
Good.
All ayes?
Aye.
Hi.
Any nays? Alright. So, and we need to mention to you that you will need to, I'm not sure that, did you turn in a W-9 last time? For the city of Bisbee?
I don't know, I reported it on my taxes.
Well, what came to light after the art auction is that many people's W-9s have were burnt in the fire.
Yeah,
And so I'm trying to remind everybody, if you can go ahead and email, is email okay?
Yeah.
Email the city a copy of a W-9, you will get your money a lot faster for your project.
so you would like me to fill out a W-9
Yes.
and then send it to you?
And
Take a photograph of it and email it.
just so they have it on record. Is that okay?
Okay,
You're not receiving ever 600, is it 600? I think it is 600. But it's for the city because they've had so many in the past, and then after City Hall burned, we lost a lot of them. And so we're trying to keep a record of them.
Everybody that gets money from.
Yeah. It is a request though, it's not, this was the confusion, it was a request and not mandatory.
Right, when it was explained, they wanted it, but then when we went back and looked, it was more of a request so that when the auditors come, they can differentiate that you are not a City of Bisbee employee, that you are a citizen of Bisbee.
okay.
Just for the audit, so they can tell where the money's
Sure.
going. Yeah. Well, thanks, Ken, and email me, if you can forward that along, or if Sherry can look and forward the stuff along, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Cause I don't have it on my email, maybe a different email address, so.
You may have an email you set up for the Bisbee Arts Commission that I used.
Is that are you using the Arts Commission one?
It might be.
This should be forwarding to my other, I have them all forwarding to one, that doesn't mean it's working, so.
Sure.
But thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you for letting me know that this was still an opportunity and continuing with it. I have a lot of fun with this. And I just ran into a couple of friends yesterday, Sloan and Danielle Bouchevet, and they brought it up. They were like, wow, we love that poetry thing.
Thank you so much.
I want to post these over by that art show in Gulch for side pointing. I'd like to just launch a whole big campaign right before this weekend for side pointing.
That would be great. And you're welcome, of course, to stay with you.
Hang for a minute. I've
All
got
right.
so much to do.
We're gonna move along, we have
Good
quite a
energy.
big agenda. To item 3, discussion and possible action to determine the date for this year's grant funding. This is the time right now, we are about a month behind, so I'd like to go ahead and set a date. I was trying to get on the agenda the ability to vote to put it in the paper, is that possible?
Oh, we can put it in the paper.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be voted on to be put in the paper.
Right now it is November 5th, I'd like to give people at least a month or a month and a half.
Let's make it December 5th.
You wanna do December 5th? So could we go ahead and get something in the paper in the next few months?
What's your feeling?
Ma'am,
I just want to interrupt the whole thing as an Englishwoman to remind you that please to remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot.
Oh.
well,
Right,
it's December
So
5th.
you want the end date?
No, November.
No, I know, but the end date's gonna
Let's
be
make the end date be December 5th.
December 5th.
And when is our meeting?
December, that's a good point too. Our next meeting is on the 3rd, I
Is
believe.
it- Can we
Are
make
you,
it
you're
then
talking about
December
having an
3rd?
announcement by December 5th?
No,
Or starting-
having them to come in.
having them to come in.
Our first
Get
meeting
get something in the
It's
paper
December
this
3rd.
week.
Oh.
Can we
okay.
delay our arts commission meeting?
Yeah, let me see if I can move it to this, what day do you wanna move it to?
If we give people till the 5th, we get it in the paper and then put it online.
Is that enough time?
Usually it's a month,
Yeah?
yeah. We could do longer, though we're going into January, but I'm open, whatever anybody thinks, anybody that has any input, for sure. Do you wanna give people more time?
I
Yes.
mean, I feel like
The
if
holidays are in there.
the
Yeah.
holidays are in there, if you're gonna post into the newspaper, which means it's not necessarily a month,
Let's,
you know.
do you wanna do
January
December
7th. Oh, December what?
31st, because your meeting is
Oh.
January 7th. Your meeting will be January
How about
7th.
December 31st?
Is that tedious because of the holidays?
Holidays
or
are right in
I
there.
It's
think
tight-
that'll be
tight.
fine.
People, it gives people time to do it over vacation, I guess.
Right.
But it ties in right to New Year and
Right,
it's a
if
very
anybody's
busy
going
So
time.
do
out
you wanna
of
do
town
December,
for
or
your-
January 3rd then? And
That's
then I can
better,
do
I
them, and
think.
then where they can be ready for the 7th.
Yeah,
Let's do
because if people
It
get
doesn't give me a lot of time, but I can get it all together,
January the
Time to
3rd.
do,
to make sure, to
From
put
the
it on
3rd
the
to the
agenda
7th.
we can delay our meeting by a week and give more
for
time.
the 7th. So you wanna
Yeah.
do it on the 14th?
So that you're not feeling,
Okay, the only thing is I'm gonna have to look, because I'm doing the calendar now for 2019, so I'd have to look and tell you what the day is available
that's fine,
to
but
do
but
that. So
do you guys feel like you'd be
so
flexible about not
the
doing
date
it?
in January, be flexible on that, so have it due on January 3rd then?
Yeah, you got to get past the holidays.
I think it's a great idea, because last time we didn't have as many applicants as I would have liked. And I think we gave maybe a month and a half.
Yeah.
We gave a month and a half, so 2 months is a
2
great
months
amount
is
of
a
time.
really, and through holidays, giving them time to really put something together, I think it's good.
So,
And I wouldn't have a problem with us meeting on the 7th of January.
well, it's her, it's
Yeah.
because once Nina gets all of
Oh,
the
she's gotta
applicants.
get it all put together.
Right.
And so we don't wanna,
Okay,
we don't
yeah,
wanna
yeah.
drive
It
us.
wouldn't probably, I try to make
That's
that
good.
effort,
That's
but.
good, that's good.
I just, yeah,
So let me look and see
If
what's
we can do-
available on the 29th, on January 2019, and I'll get with you, and you just tell me, and then I can send everything out to them to make sure. I'll try to do it the next week.
the
I-
form is on, okay, so the form is on our website right now.
Correct, it's on our Bisbee Arts page.
And I was gonna see, does it have 2017? I think I may have left the date off, cause I was like, let's just
I
roll with
thought
this
we
one.
left the date off of that.
Um,
I can check it though, so you'll be
And
able
I
to check
do-
the application.
would anybody like to see the application?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I probably got a copy of it, but I'll look at it again.
Yeah, I didn't print one for this, I just,
No, I brought one cause I thought, well,
Sure, just
yeah,
pass it around.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm cheap with paper.
So we
But if anybody-
can
so-
download it off the.
I revised it last year
Mhm.
because the old
Yeah, I
one
remember
was
we-
very,
yeah.
very short.
Yeah, right.
And this was a longer application, but I did check and it's still shorter than most applications in most cities. And I still had a few complaints that it was
Not
long,
enough,
but
you know.
no, that it was long. I mean, it's a little bit more information, but if you guys wanna pass it
Okay.
along and check it out, I'm
Mhm.
totally open to revision. 'Cause it was just
I
my,
really, yeah. We need, yeah.
You've seen it, have you?
so what I'll do in the morning is get the advertisement ready for you, and as long as you can give it to me back by noon, I can get it in the paper. And how many times do you
well,
want it?
let's wait till next week, and that'll give me a chance, if anybody wants a revision on this application, that'll give me a chance to fix the application and send it to you.
Okay, so wait on the grant.
Yeah, you won't feel too pressured.
Alright, so you wanna do it next week?
Yeah, does that sound good?
Say hi.
So that, if anybody wants to see this, so that's what, if anybody wants to see this, it's on the BisbeeArizona.gov Arts Commission page, and you download it. And then if anybody, I still have this file, if you see something and you think, this is, see, Carrie did a typo, which is very possible, or like, this doesn't make any sense, or anything, just send it to me the next week and I can fix it.
Is this it here, Bisbee Arts Commission at Gmail?
That's the one he must have sent it to, it's supposed to be forwarding to me.
What is the one that, where we go look at it if we don't have a copy of this?
BisbeeAZ.gov, and you go up to the top of the page where it says government, it's a drop-down menu, and you go to the one that says Bisbee Arts Commission, and it's the first page. They're all linked right there.
I'm asking you if it has the date on it, and then I have one right here.
Yeah, no, I thought we took the date off of it.
I think we did, cause I was like,
I'll look at to make sure the one that I put up there doesn't have the date on it.
the old one's dead, and you're like, pretty much just changing the date every year.
Why? Yeah.
Take it to David, yeah, I've got time.
No, I'm not, I was just
I
double
think,
checking the date, but
You're watching.
please
you're
look
looking.
over it if you see anything. A lot of it I copied from other cities, I went through other cities' grant applications and combined and took out, and so that's how I got it, but I'm still obviously open to revisions.
Okay.
Seems to work okay. The thing I do like about this is the final report is concise,
Yeah.
because I don't wanna stress people out, so. So with dates good, we can pass that along and we can move along to the next item if that's
Yep.
okay with you guys.
Yes,
You're
yes,
welcome to.
We can double dip.
So we need to make a motion that it's January 3rd.
No, that's right. I move to determine the date for this year's grant funding, which would be next year's grant funding really, as January 3rd, 2019. Will be the due date. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, wait, I'll second it.
All ayes?
Aye.
Any nays?
No.
Yeah, and seriously, I would love to hear whatever you guys have. Writing a grant application is not always the simplest thing, I'll tell you that.
I've had 3 grants, so I'm familiar with
Oh yeah, please then, if
national
you,
endowment and stuff.
Yeah, you've done that.
Yes.
if you see anything you wanna change, let me know.
Well, I don't have a copy, I'll have to go look at it on the internet.
Well, you can take that one home tonight if you
Okay.
want. And then I'll get anybody else a copy. I know where to find Kate. Item 4, discussion regarding the final report turned in by Laura McKenna for the grant funding awarded. Which should be in there.
Yes.
Man, everything's in here.
I tried my best, and I
You
even
did.
tried to put it in some kind of order.
That is. Yep.
So
Right where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Ken goes.
And I read over it last time. Did anybody have any questions? I didn't ask her to come in because I thought it was pretty simple. If we can always, if anybody does have any concerns, we could table it and have her come in next time, but usually the final reports are self-explanatory.
Yeah.
No, I can't find it. There it is.
This one?
It's right here.
No, it's still in the packet.
It's this one.
It has this on the front.
We awarded Laura McKenna $500 for filmmaking and archival source materials. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Lori. She's the director of Central School and also an active artist. She just was in the Bisbee 17 movie doing an installation. You have mine here.
So what do we have what's the motion we need to do?
It's, no, it just
Just to accept it, yeah.
And as of right now, I think that we have everyone's. I've been making a list. Kinbo would be the last one. I mean, he
So
apparently has one.
everybody did their report.
Do we have a report for you?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, Showcase Vital turned in theirs today.
It'll be on the next agenda for.
Yeah, so everybody, I was so excited to announce that everybody has turned in their final reports to us.
That makes us a success.
Yeah.
Okay, I move to accept the final report turned in by Lori McKenna for the grant funding award.
And I don't even think we need a motion,
No,
but
we don't
we're
need
great.
it. Thank you.
All right.
Nicely put, too.
So item 5, discussion of possible action for setting a deadline and process for public art and public spaces.
Do you want me to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think,
At the very end of your packet of stuff that Nina has thrown together for us, thank you very much, she copied the
Carefully
letter that I
curated.
sent to her. So I did have a meeting with a friend of mine, actually, Sheila Kolash, an artist in Phoenix, who's also been she was the director of the museum in Wickenburg. She's been in the city of Phoenix, she's been the Phoenix Sky Harbor arts person for a number of years. Anyway, Sheila and I just sat down and had dinner and talked about what happens in the process of public art and acceptance of public art and all of the things.
Does anybody know the code right there to come in here? This code on the pad?
Yes. Go ahead.
So there's, in the process of public art, there is so much that needs to be considered by the city, and there needs to be a registrar created of all public art that the city has. Whether or not it exists already, I don't know. Does it exist, Nina?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no, you did, what,
I wasn't even in here.
catch
I'm
you
sorry.
off?
What did she say?
Going to the
Are
county
you
is what she
thinking
did.
art that is in city limits or art?
Art that's in public art that the city has accepted it as art within this.
Most of our art had burned. There was a collection of art in City Hall.
Yes.
But in the city in proper, like out in public display, that the city is responsible for. Do we have a registrar of that art?
Well, how many? There aren't too many pieces.
I think it's just all in that, the mining museum. isn't it?
It's all on the property there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, I think that's the only art that I think that's.
Then
been-
Dale's piece and the.
Well, we've got the
Yeah.
pieces in the park outside the museum, we've got the,
So this needs to be actually taken into consideration and probably needs to be listed as public art in Bisbee. Then comes with that, I never even considered the idea that public art has you have a responsibility to it. And it becomes expensive, in fact, for cities to have art, because art has to be maintained and has to be, there has to be serviced on many things. So having more public art in our city really does require us to come up with some sort of way of accepting that kind of work. And that's a decision that we need to decide whether or not the city even wants to take on because of the expenses. And if we read the, I think it was the second letter when she got back to me, just has to be taken into consideration, there needs to be a register of all those works that are owned by the city, and things like scheduled maintenance need to be taken into consideration as an ongoing cost of accepting public art. An example that could be looked at to take place in Wickenburg, actually, she told me about this, you know, they took in this piece of art and put it in a park behind the Wickenburg Museum. But it wasn't, there was nobody maintaining it. Anyway, it became a significant expense to the city in the end. And they sold the park, actually, and where does that piece of art then go? So, there's a lot to take into consideration. If we really want to start to be serious about accepting public art, which I think we should be, then we need to take all of that more business side of it.
there's another aspect to it too, and that is, think about gates and people's properties that have art on them.
Oh, yeah.
Is that
No,
included?
no.
They can
This
do
is
whatever.
just
We're talking about
public
just the
art.
responsibility of the
Okay.
city. Two things.
Well,
Yes,
that's pretty
thank you.
public.
The responsibility of the art that is in Grassy Park may lie with the mining museum, since grants were paid through the mining museum and not the city of
So it's
Bisbee.
really not owned by the city then?
No,
No,
that's
I
the
don't-
only art that's in, I don't even think we approved that, I can't remember.
No, and because that was a bit of a drama unto itself,
Great question.
as they always are.
Doesn't really fit Bisbee, does it?
I really
That-
like how the cement plot was too small, so they had to quickly make a little bit bigger one.
Oh, and that's on loan. That's not
That's
even,
on loan?
that's on loan.
From
That,
Babwick.
And so what do? Then take that little piece of concrete away when the chair goes?
I know, I think that piece of concrete's there.
So
it is
that's
permanent,
It
yeah.
would be a nice place to have a sculpture all the time.
But I know that Ben Dale was paid by the mining museum.
Yeah, he was paid by mine, okay, so.
And Sloan.
So why are we
but-
discussing whether or not we're moving ahead with public art?
Well, the original topic, the reason I brought this up in the beginning was not so much about sculptures, it was about murals, which is because we do have a lot of murals downtown, and recently the ordinance have changed that I
They're
think
here, yes.
the ordinance is in here. You guys wanna look at that? That was I understand that the responsibility of taking care of a sculpture is a lot, and the chances that somebody's gonna come around and say, I have a $30,000 sculpture I wanna give you, are kind of rare. Though it would be nice to have a protocol in place for that. And there is I think she included that as well, there is an application for public art in public spaces.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, something I thought I saw
Is
it.
there a maintenance aspect to murals?
Well, if somebody were to graffiti on somebody's mural, I think that we need to take this into consideration.
Well, let's see, where do you find the ordinance? I did it, I got it all out of order.
You
Alright,
can borrow mine.
oh, thank you. There is an ordinance,
The original one.
That's
The
the
one
original
that was
one?
passed
This
in
is the new one.
2013, and that's the new one.
so, and that is in everybody's packet? Okay. This is really why I brought it up, is that the designer review board
It's 017.
wanted to hand over the responsibility
Oh, 1714.
of the murals,
So that's the next one.
mural ordinance to the Arts Commission, because that is not their concern. They're concerned with architecture. And they had agreed, I know that at least their liaison had agreed that they thought that it would be better handled under our board.
Right.
And so
That's
that
how
was
we
something,
started, yeah.
and that was a lot bigger of an issue at the moment, just because murals are always a battleground in this town. And also that now any commercial structure in the historic preservation zone has to go through the design and review board to put a mural on their property. And it tells you exactly where that is, because I know that can be a little confusing.
So don't they handle it then, the design review board?
They do.
And one has to be involved in the decision making, and I think that we do wanna be
They
involved.
wanted either us to come to their meetings when there is something that comes up, or to take over the responsibility completely, and that was coming from their liaison and not the full board at the moment. And so that was the big thing about this public art.
Okay.
I was just, I was interested in taking on, and having us take on a little more responsibility in that sense, because we have a lot of artists in our group, and so I wanted to move forward. I know that Frank's been gone.
Yeah, Frank's been gone, and I haven't spoke to him about this in some time, but he was open and willing to this idea, but I don't think it was ever brought up before the DRB.
So we don't know how
so we may be, you know,
Cart before the horse here.
yeah,
Well,
we may be
just-
putting the cart before the horse a little bit.
Yeah, we just wanna see if you guys are interested.
When Frank gets back, I'll talk to him and see if he, you know, can get that in front of all of them, and then we can clarify our role.
Would you guys be,
I think we should be involved in the
Involved at
decision
least.
as the art commission.
Oh, I absolutely think we should be involved in it.
Because the design and review committee doesn't necessarily have to think about the art.
well, they're not concerned with color or paint or anything like that. And they have plenty of stuff of their own when it comes to the battle of design and review board.
It's
so-
about being able to reject somebody who brings up an idea that, yeah.
Well, and it's also our ability to bridge into the community and offer grants for things like that.
Exactly. And with having that guideline helps us, you know, be able to explain to people what it is that we would be looking for to approve their murals. And so the idea is to make it easier, but also be more careful about what goes up in the city of Bisbee. I know that, you know, people often bring up painting the stairs. Well, you can't paint the stairs here. They're WPA stairs, and the Historical Society of Arizona, or whatever it's called, has said, please do not paint your stairs. That's come up several times. Same thing with a lot of these older walls, is that people paint them, and you're really not supposed to. Brick is not supposed to be painted. There's all these different things. I don't know if it goes over in this, but I did bring this too, if anybody wants to take a look at it. Good old 1990 design guide. So, and it talks about the
I have a
historic
copy of that
principles.
right here.
Oh, you have one of those too? But it's the design guidelines, and so that would be something that we'd want to work into it too, just to keep a general aesthetic. Yeah, I know. Jeff Schreiber gave me that. I think he's had it for like 25 years.
Well, next meeting, bring it early enough that we can look through it.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody wants to borrow it or anything, of
Also
course.
find it online.
Oh, you can
Under
find
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
online,
yeah.
yeah.
It's on the
nice to have a
Bisbee.
print of it.
Yeah, it's on. They don't make these anymore, but
No, yes,
Well, we
I
had
it.
some, but they're gone in the fire.
Yeah, they're kind
Yeah.
of fire.
I
So it is
had one
online,
myself
that's right.
From years ago.
but just to get a cohesive sense of what we're looking for. So the idea is just to see if you guys want to move forward, and then we'll talk to Frank about how we would do that.
And I go back to the idea, I think it needs to be a case by case.
Definitely.
You know, we
So you
can't
have it
make any
online?
protocol about this
I
until
can-
we've
I
done
can
it.
send that to you.
I
would
could
love
see
that.
some kind of application process, and then a meeting in front of the board, and then it gets approved, and then.
Right.
Because we want people to, be able to show what they're going to do before they do it, and that doesn't always happen.
It's a
And
big responsibility when it comes to it, actually. I mean, the town is so full of murals and stuff anyway.
And that's where I wanted people to think seriously about the fact that it does lend itself to a little drama if for some reason we rejected someone. But I mean, I think that with any responsibility, you take on the ability to, be in the line of fire. So, and luckily the artists for the most part are easygoing compared to At least we're not the designer review board, right?
Yeah,
God.
So we really don't need an action on that, we're just gonna hold on to it
I just wanna make sure everybody,
until
if
the
you guys are,
DRB,
Ah,
so we don't need an action, cause they're all seem to be,
there's no action right now, it's just, I just want you guys to get a chance,
I
read
want to be
your
involved.
ordinance, look it over and see if you wanna change it, or what, how we wanna go forward, and if anybody has any ideas next time about how we could go forward with it.
right.
And I'll meet with Frank
And in
and
the
Bill.
meantime, yeah, we can talk to Frank.
Okay. It's just it's a good opportunity, I think.
And I think you had brought up wanting to perhaps donate a sculpture, and that's why I went a little further with it.
yes, I have a sculpture.
But that has to be done the same way that
That
these
is
other
totally, I
things
mean, it's
and-
all, it all came out of the mind.
And that's,
I
yeah,
think it all came out of the
Yeah,
mind. It's
that's
very-
why though, that's why we have
that's
a
where
hall.
she brought up that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's strong, it
We
doesn't
need a-
have to be maintained, and it was done by a Bisbee artist who's gone now. And it was in galleries and for huge amounts of money, and at some point I got it, and it's in my garden, it's awesome.
Well, you're a great example to go forward of like, how would we, if we wanted
Right,
to
if
do
somebody
that.
wanted to make this donation, we'd have to find a site specific
Right,
and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And what it would cost us to
What it would cost
install
to
it.
accept it, and, yeah.
And
Does
you can
every
make
get-
it, sorry,
Oh, no, go ahead.
you can make like a contract with the artist if it's a mural, you know, for the next 10 years, I will,
maintain it, yeah.
yeah, I'll make sure that if it
Gets
gets vandalized,
damaged,
yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
So yeah, just think about those things, and if you wanna, yeah, the idea that if Kate were to donate right now, what would we do?
What would
We'd be like, I don't know, so
Yeah.
if we could have a plan,
Well,
that
when
would be
we've got
great.
it together, I'm ready, I even know where I think it should go.
Perhaps you
And
should
it's-
start that process then.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
why not, why not? I
There
mean,
is-
it's
there
pretty
was-
unbreakable,
Yourself
I
an
mean,
application.
it's a
Yeah.
seriously put
There
together
is a
piece.
public,
An
there
application.
is somewhere floating around in the, old application.
yeah, I can find it for you.
Yeah,
and
if
then
you,
I'll
Okay,
send
if
it
you
out.
give me
That's
one,
something-
let's use it as a practice. It's
That
not
would
a
be-
mural, it's a piece, but it's
So the next one, we can go over that and look
Mhm.
at it.
And
Is that
it's very, very right on.
Okay,
Now, on
onward.
your next item, nobody gave me anything for anybody to look at.
Oh, I have them.
Okay,
Alright. Discussion and possible action regarding choosing a Bisbee logo. I was just gonna show you what she sent to me and what we had in the past, and then we see what you guys think.
It's time, it's been a year.
Well, I mean, this is just what she sent to me, so. This is the old art auction logo. I just wanna see this as an option, without the auction part of it, which is very simple. This is this year's, last year's, you guys can pass those along, and these are a few more that she sent to me.
Oh, I really like this one.
I think I like that one too.
It's really light and the colours are perfect.
You know what I like about it
Turquoise.
too is that it'll print out well in black and white. Even the colors will come out a little bit grayer, and it'll print out nicely.
She's good about thinking about that. I know
That's a
that,
really nice one.
I don't understand what this supposed
No, this
supposed to
thing
be.
on the top doesn't do it for me.
no, it looks
This
a little
one,
bit like books.
this is a winner. This is lovely.
That's the one that we did for the art auction last year, and we're also happy with it. The reason that I wanted not only to bring that tonight, but also because Carlos, we needed to pick out colors for him.
Well, can't the same one be done with just a difference in colour and just make it a kind of tradition?
Well, that's what that one is right there. It's the same one in a
Oh,
different
so
color.
it is.
Have you checked in when you
Oh,
do the
crazy.
printing on the cigarette boxes? Does it cost extra each color you add in?
They had the 4-color bid and it was pretty good. I didn't bring my right, I wanted to grab my,
That's the
but I
next
brought the
item
wrong
on the
notebook
agenda.
that had all that information on it. But yes,
at a time.
there's a
Are you
4-color
smoking?
process for
I've got the
printing.
gifties, it's all here.
Okay.
We can
I've got an
do
example
them.
for,
It's not each color.
No,
When
it's not each color. No,
it
it's a
starts
4-color
getting real
process, yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
4-color
these could be
process.
made to stand out more, maybe just with the black line around them, I don't know.
You would ask her to do a mock-up of that?
Yeah, let's see if that pops them out a
No,
bit more.
I don't see that because it'll interfere with the Bisbee Arts. So
I think
imagine
it's-
a line, another line next to that A going around that.
yes, you're right,
square.
I think it's really,
Yeah.
I think it's really gentle, that's what I like about it.
And I can always ask her to do another mock-up if you want.
Well, if everybody else likes it, I don't really care then, but I don't like it
Make it in
very much.
bold. And
Do you want me to ask her to do another?
Maybe it's because of the paper, if this were gonna be, is this gonna be red? Or is
No,
it-
it's not
What
pink.
I'm not thrilled about, I'll tell you what I'm not thrilled, I'm not
The
thrilled
tea
about.
is too pale. Stop.
These are my copy printer. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true.
It is.
Um,
It's not
The
a red
colors
printer.
are, don't pop, you know, and.
They do on the actual, so why don't
Yeah.
I send you my file, and you can see them, and when they're actually, cause all I could do
If
was
there's
send them-
any way that these colors would be deeper, that would be better.
Well,
And I
but
don't
it
know
will
if
not
it-
say,
That's why I
it will not,
suggested putting the black line around,
it will not
you
say
know.
art auction, cause it's just the Bisbee Arts.
Are you
Because
doing
that-
the black line around the letters
No,
or
around
around these?
those
So
symbols.
imagine all of a sudden now you've got a line that comes down right between,
Well, that would have
breaks
to-
off the R, and then you have a line that comes down here behind the B.
Those colored
With
letters will not be down there, cause it will just be the Arts Commission.
So if you start putting lines from here to here,
Right, well,
here.
maybe those symbols
And
could be
then-
smaller or moved up, and then,
Did really good on printing.
just with a black line around them, that's what I was thinking, they don't pop out.
I think the
very
color,
much.
I think the colors just need to be intensified.
So
I
as
do
you
too.
like
Yeah.
that.
I
Look
think,
like that.
I'm not sure, I
That's
don't
what I
like the idea of the lines, but I definitely
Okay,
think the
that's
colours are
better.
great if it's
Yeah,
intense.
that's just my,
Yeah,
that's
you
my
just
mock-up.
put that
Yes.
art auction thing up there.
Yes, yes,
I love it.
I like it too.
The colors are a lot more vivid in real life too.
Yeah, if it's like real.
My printer is just not that great.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm happy with it.
It looks like it tried real hard.
It did. You probably used up half the cartridge trying to do that. You know how they are.
Yeah, take the art auction thing out.
Yes, that's right, it makes a whole difference.
And know that
Then
when we
there's
use
no
that
red,
though, we
though,
can use it, no, but we could use, but so
You
that
could
gives
use
us.
some red in it, I think.
No, we don't need it this time, but we could use red when we're putting a date on something, or red could
Mm-hmm.
be this color that comes in when we're having, whatever event we're doing. But I think as it is right there, it's just.
I like it too,
it's
it's
good that
gentle.
way. Yeah, so when we're doing something, we will use that red.
That's
but
why I
we
brought
need
that
red.
mock up, just so
Yeah.
that's what we've used before in the past.
I like it.
But I mean, beyond the logo too, do you like that color combination? If you're looking for something with the cigarette, the logo, it will often be printed in black and white.
Mhm.
But with that cigarette machine, I was thinking, because we need something that's gonna pop. It's gotta be kind of bright, but I'm open to
Well, the
asking
colors
her.
that pop are red and yellow, from advertising, we all know
Mhm.
that. That's why
Right.
Shell Oil, Kodak, all those people use red, black and yellow.
IKEA's doing really good with blue and yellow.
That's true.
IKEA's doing really well with blue and yellow.
Well,
Yeah.
I like it as well, especially if it's stronger.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, no, it's definitely stronger. I
Yeah.
mean, I can pull it up too, but I can have her mock up different colors too. It's all up to you guys and what colors you decide you
I
want.
don't want it to take any more time, and those colors really kind of are right for us, actually. There's turquoise in there, there's
The sun,
sun, yeah,
And we're very green
and we're
sometimes.
green.
Sometimes.
It's like Emerald Island here.
I'm gonna show you the other online, and then we'll see the brighter colors. Cause it is my other.
yeah,
that looks better.
that's stronger.
I know too much of it is my.
Yeah, turn it, let me see. Oh, yeah, so it's almost electric, I like that, that's really
Yeah,
good.
I like it.
You like that better? It's
Yeah,
brighter.
I'm just not really jazzed about it. I'm not sure if it's the text, the font, or what, but,
Well, it's up to you guys.
and the others I don't
What
like the top.
what I'm objecting to at this point is our objecting to it, because right now we have gone for, since I started on this commission, trying to get a logo. And if we don't get a logo, then, we're still waiting on getting the rest of everything else
Okay,
done.
And I do like the idea of the announcements and things popping out in red at the bottom,
Yeah.
because that kind of
Yeah.
gives it a hit at the time.
Well, it's up to you guys. If you wanna move, you can move.
I would like to move that we accept this logo and get on with
So you move
Bisbee Arts Commission.
to choose this logo from
Accept it,
Bridget
yes.
Shanahan, and we'll get a invoice for it. We have already paid for this,
Mhm.
so because we paid for it with the art auction.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know exactly what she's gonna. It's gonna be less than the.
Oh, for the rights to use it. Okay.
I have to talk to her about the
Yeah.
rights to use it, because the other one she gave me, I think we were under. What were we paying out for an art? What was the? That was $250.
Yeah.
Yeah, so $250. But in this case, she may take a. She may reconsider, considering something that she already has done. So,
Okay.
do I have a second?
Yes.
All right.
I
All
second.
ayes.
Okay.
Any nays?
Can you send me that so I can get
Yes, I
that
can send it
going
to you.
with the grant thing?
Yeah, no problem.
Make a new logo on there.
That is on the Arts Commission page if you want those, send those colors to Carlos. That would be great. I think that at least the cigarette machine with those colors will look
It's
very.
on, what's it on, what page?
It's on the Bisbee Arts Commission, Facebook page. No. Alright. Item 7, discussion and possible action for the art vending machine, including but not limited to location and design. Well, the design, Carlos is still waiting, I think Carlos, you've been in communication with him about getting the money to him, right?
Mhm.
And then,
We all got it all worked out.
oh good, and then what about he was going to come in front of us and talk about how he was gonna decorate it, but.
Well, we needed to have a logo first.
I know, so that's the
So
problem.
now we have the colors, and now we can move forward with that.
Okay.
And he would say, what I really like about this logo, back to the logo if we take a second, is his idea for how to decorate it is it's a standard cigarette machine. It's pictured here, there's a picture of Carlos here somewhere, standing
Yes,
with
here it
it.
is, here it is.
Okay, so you look at the thing, we could even sit here right now and we could say, where do you see these colors, if you wanna do that.
Was he gonna do a mock-up of some sort?
He could do a mock-up, or you can see there's not a whole lot of rooms, but look at the top of this thing, up here. The top needs to have that logo, and I think it could be done pretty cool cutout, those shapes, that trapezoid kind of, it's not trapezoid, but that shape, and that all of those shapes together could be on top of the machine. And then, Bisbee Arts Commission, yeah, it'll be a lot, so that's the sign that would be up above the top of the machine. And then the places where we need to do information here, coloring this, there's not a lot of room. But the machine itself is this fake wood, it's a metal machine that has this kind of fake wood veneer on it. And that's what needs to be dealt with in color. So, to make it more interesting. KSSO. Oh, a gift that fits inside of a cigarette. Oh
Look,
my
it has
goodness.
red in it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the gift that's inside
And
the
then you have to
cigarette
get
machine.
artists who are
I
ready
mean the
to
box.
to-
Oh, that box.
You know,
Well,
what-
they also make a blue box, a yellow box, and a green box, American Spirits, but most people buy the gold because it's natural.
If I yellow.
American Spirit has all the colors, all of those colors also in their boxes.
Are we going to discuss at all the whole business about
Yeah,
what
that's-
artists and what they're ready to provide and if they're ready to keep up with it? Because there's going to have to be backstop.
And it doesn't have to fit in that box, or it
It
does.
has to fit
Yes,
in a box
that's
to be
why I-
pulled
that's
through a
why-
cigarette machine.
This is it.
So,
That leaves a lot of artists out.
it
Yes,
does,
it does.
it does. Not everybody will wanna do it. Maybe they wanna put inside of a box, a business card that offers a discount at their, or something like that,
Are we going to be able to dump beads into there, little packets of beads?
Probably you could.
Swarovski crystal, out you go. I
That's
love
the
it.
idea is that when we
is
approve this, is because in many major cities, there are these, people have done these vending machines with the art.
And you are limited because the box, it has to fit in there, so it has to be a box. And so I've seen actual paintings by many artists
Oh, yes.
that are just little boxes, that are blocks, and they don't even go inside of a box, they're just little blocks that fall down and you get this artwork. I've seen
That's cool.
what Kate's doing, jewelry inside, I've seen little sculpture that you build, little
Yes.
pieces that come
Puzzles.
together, puzzle type
Puzzles.
things, I've seen those. So there's a lot of things that can go, I've got a friend who's doing collages, they're like a stack of collages that go inside of a box like that. And so I have got people starting to make us things, but
Good.
only on the idea that it's gonna happen. And yes, I would love to have everybody decide what artists we wanna invite to do this.
Well,
Not
I said
everybody can, you're right.
But they've
Not
also got,
everybody can.
but the point is that if this really rolls along,
Mhm.
the artists don't only, I mean, they're going to have to provide backstock.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
They're
a
gonna
big
get, they're gonna
subject.
get,
If you're going to do
if
something
you're going to
to-
have a slot, there are 22 slots, if you're going to have a slot, a place for your boxes to be, then you have to supply us with
That's right, enough to,
a whole
that's
row.
right, that's right.
There's like
And-
10
And
or
then
something.
as they sell, by the way, you're getting paid,
See that
$10 a
picture?
pop,
Right.
$10 to the BAC,
Right.
$10 to the
That's
artist.
why it's
And so as the boxes go down, you let them know, hey, you're running out, you might wanna get some more pieces in here.
Yes,
But
who's
we have
going
to
to be
supply them
responsible
with
for
the
that?
boxes. That's an ongoing job.
Yeah, I'll see you for breakfast, thank
That's
you,
a
Bill.
BAC job.
Right. That'll be interesting because we'll probably have to allocate.
Right now,
it.
I'm agreeing to do it, but it just takes so long.
I think we're going to, you know what I think we're going to have to do with that?
What?
I think in some way we're going to have to allocate, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there like that, but however we do it. But a BAC person who is going to be in town for a month being in charge. So
You
let's
take it on,
allocate.
everybody gets 1 month out
Exactly.
of it, every 8 months.
That's right.
And I
Or a
thought
week or
we'll,
whatever.
I mean, it's gonna be a little bit slow in the beginning, at least we'll get,
It's
we'll
gonna
get,
be really slow.
we'll get an idea very
yeah,
quickly of
we'll-
how many
yeah.
we need.
Right, but
So-
let's just get a bunch of, let's get 22 artists if we can. If we can't get 22 artists, we'll get 11 artists and they each get 2 rows.
That's fine, yeah, that'll be
You know?
great.
And start to fill this thing up.
Make a small fortune.
And I started talking to a few people I know that the idea is
It's
that
just
it's
a fun thing.
50-50,
It's
right?
50-50. The
So-
BAC gets 50% and the artist gets 50%. And somebody who would buy something from the vending machine, I mean, I would love to have had it available by Christmas, because to me, as a grandma, as a,
Yes,
you know,
right.
and still as a mom, my kids still get stockings. And I put stuff like that, we don't know what it is, but there it is, and we all get to have the experience of them opening it up and going, oh, look what you got, you know? And I know that I would, and I have done something like this, where I've tried the vending machine and gotten something. So, and if I had 7 to buy, to put in stocking stuffers, I would do that. I would spend $140, no question asked, knowing that money was going to an artist in the community, and I was visiting that community, and knowing that money was going to an organization that funded the arts in the community. To me, that's why I would do it. It's truly a charitable thing, but you get a lot of fun out of it too, so
I love the idea.
It's an experience.
it's an experience, exactly. So, I would love to have had it ready by Christmas, but here we've had this machine for almost a year now we've owned it.
No, that's why last
Well,
time we
the
just.
logo's been a big problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why we're saying yes to the logo.
Yeah, I know, okay.
That's why I feel so, I'm just like, alright, we're gonna just move forward with
You
this.
know, we're stuck with it for a long time, and we
Yeah,
can
hide
always
it
change it.
just a little
If
bit.
for some reason,
It's so much better than this
Yeah.
anchor thing, whatever the heck this, you know.
it's a
these-
minor gesture.
I know, but it looks like an anchor. It's so much better than this. That you can't even read.
Right.
Alright, well, just to move forward, because we already had about an hour, and I tried to keep
Yeah.
it at an hour and a
Yeah,
half. So, the location and design are the two things that we're talking about today. I would like to see a is there any way?
yeah, he could, I
Without
guess, I
holding
don't
up-
know. He could-
Holding up time, or just an
So,
general
yeah, talk
idea.
Well,
about
right now,
locations.
actually,
What do
right
we
now,
got?
excuse me, right now, he's, going to be converting it. As soon as that money comes in, that money is spent already. But I told him, don't lay out your own money for this,
Yeah,
because
wait for
Carlos
the-
doesn't have that much money to begin with. Wait till you get your check, and then we can get the machine. Now, the machine arrives, the money acceptor, but it has to be
Installed.
installed and added to our machine and
You'll
make it
keep
work.
us posted
Yeah,
on when
there's
it,
a
after
little
that's
bit of
in, so we can
technology
think
involved.
about painting it or whatever.
Yeah, right, and then we'll talk about painting it, exactly. We still have time.
And then location too, we still have time.
Well, and the one location that I have identified that I'm working my ass off for, so that we can put our cigarette machine in there. They're getting all my free labor for a week right now. I'm painting the Bisbee Science Lab, which is taking over Bisbee's and Rice
Mhm.
location, or Sampo Gallery for people who are not familiar, but
What's happening to beans and rice?
it's becoming the Bisbee Science Lab.
Oh,
It's ultimately what the city is, what this group is trying to do is have a science museum in Bisbee, working with Freeport McMoran to take over possibly a building in Lowell, or possibly even the mine up there, turn it into a science museum is the goal. But as this is in development for about 3 years, they're gonna create a lab space where they're gonna start doing exhibitions and having kids interactive projects and having science activities. So that Main Street isn't just about retail, it's got, we start to do some other things on Main Street.
Cool.
And because I'm doing all of their painting and work and offering to spend 1 day a week as a person manning the shop, which by the way gives us a desk and a file drawer and a place for the BAC to actually have a desk. And somebody could be sitting and doing data entry at a computer, and we need that. So all of that combined is part of the Bisbee Science Lab, because science, the goal anymore is STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, art, and math into one concept. So arts are a major part of what I'm trying to promote with my end of the Bisbee Science Lab. Whether or not it gets to become what I hope it becomes, I'm only invested in this, that sense of, I'm exhibitions and installation. So I'm not content, except that I wanna put the BAC in there.
Yeah.
That's the only
Yeah,
content that I'm
yeah.
bringing to the.
And the other thing I would say in regards to, I mean, I think it would be a great location, it just depends on where the machine is in that building. I would hate
Well,
for it to
the-
be in a corner.
No, the front, north, the front east end of the building is going to be like a small little gift shop.
Oh, okay, great,
And then, yeah, we will have our on the other side,
that's perfect.
So there'll be a cash register there so that people can get cash if they need it.
yeah, but right
for the
across the
machine.
street is the ATM machine at the bank. And if they're $20, pulls, that's an easy.
Cause all the cash will need to go through the machine, I mean, we don't want them to do any of the.
No, they
yeah.
won't do any of that, but they won't be
Okay.
handling any of the
Yeah,
cash,
okay.
they can just.
So who will
They
be
keep
dealing
saying-
with the money in the machine?
We
That's
will,
part of the BAC is future
I know.
jobs,
Yeah.
somebody is gonna have.
So we
to-
can have a little safe under the desk? You can have a safe there?
Well,
No,
so-
no, no,
the part of the machine where you put money
is
is
secure.
secure, so
Oh,
you will
okay,
just have to
secure.
go periodically
Just to
and
the-
And
empty
just
it out.
empty it out.
Got it.
Yeah, and count the number of boxes it's sold and match it with the number of $20 bills you have, and it's be easy inventory.
Better be.
That's kind of an
It's a small ongoing fundraiser in that
It
sense.
just keeps
And a
going.
It's
present.
actually adorable and wonderful.
Yeah, I hope so.
So, are we good then for now? We're just sort of waiting for both of those then.
The town's
Is there-
ready for us.
So at this point, they have agreed, by the way, to allowing us to have the machine in there, and we can move the machine, it's not a permanent
Well,
location.
the other place, of course, I thought of for it is the new coffee shop on the subway, because that's going to be a kind of a gathering place. And it could be,
Yeah, it's nice to have it on Main
I
Street
think it's
and-
fine
yeah.
when you've got it. I'm
I
just saying
prefer to have it
that.
inside of a non-profit versus a store, but.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
BAC,
this
and
is the
that
best.
Bisbee Science Lab is a nonprofit.
Yeah, that's
We're
what
a
it is.
non, yeah, so.
No, it's all good.
Those are good. Yeah, will you just keep us posted or keep me posted
And
about
thank you
when
for
they're,
the,
when
the
he's ready
effort
to
you're putting
paint?
into it too. Damn, I've watched you do it.
This is how we're gonna get this done.
This is awesome,
No, that's
absolutely.
Moving forward then.
Okay.
Are you good, Sharon? Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Item 8 is discussing grant funding final reports, which we have all of them. So that's all we really need to say. At that point I did not, but
Hooray, that's amazing.
Kimber, we're
I-
done.
item 9,
Done.
we're done. So item 10 is the accounting. We talked about it last meeting, but here's the breakdown.
Yeah, we haven't seen it, it looks good.
I have a question on this.
Yes.
This board says bartending $514 or $510. Is that for the May?
That's what
Function?
we paid Yoni to bartend and also.
Okay, because I was, I did wine and stuff. I didn't take any money.
No, and we neither did Meredith. We paid him to prepare all the drinks,
Okay.
And
which
they were
ended up being.
complicated.
As you also see, the alcohol cost was high too, because they bought very expensive mix for cocktails,
Yeah.
which was the idea, but we've all learned a lesson though. Including,
Well, look, we came out ahead $1,271.56.
I think,
As
I need-
opposed to
I need
last year,
you.
how much? What's the
It was
difference?
10,000, yeah. But this was not that kind of an event, we knew
We-
that from the get-go.
we intentionally did that because the art auction last year was so much work. We decided that we wanted to have a fundraiser that was not,
It was more fun.
It was
so
fun
and
too.
it was more about getting the word out and having the community involved. So it just ended up, I love having these nice drinks and things, but it's just so expensive. Next time we're having Jack.
Champagne would be cheaper.
Yeah.
And they had champagne. It was just, I always like supporting them because they're opening a restaurant and they're very particular, but it's hard in a fundraising capacity, so. But it was the feedback I got about the drinks and everything, people seemed very happy. And
They were lovely.
They're just so nice. But it was not a cheap thing, by any means. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Alright, well, next year, at our next meeting, we're gonna need to talk about the art auction for next year.
Yes.
And, we did, luckily, at the last art auction, what did we made 12, 13, 14.
Well, we
We took
going with 10, I think,
11,000.
yeah.
So we were like, we're giving ourselves a year off, but, oh yeah, please take that back before I steal it.
I just have one question on
Of
the
course.
art auctions, because I was in them for several years. We would all donate our art and then it would get auctioned off, right?
Yeah.
What happened to that type of event? Is it gone completely, or will we go back to that, or?
Yeah, the last year, that's what we did,
Uh-huh.
and I think that after, I personally and many other people, we worked so hard that and the reason we were so successful in 2017 was because it hadn't happened in a long time.
That's right.
And see, people went kind of batty. I mean, I told people to pour the drinks really stiff, but I think we went overboard. But because people were bidding like,
Well, we had
Crazy
amazing,
people.
we had a lot of really good stuff donated to us.
We did.
We did a lot of work to
We had-
get that stuff donated.
but we decided we'd do it every other year so that people wouldn't get too used to the idea of it. A, because we don't have the energy to do it every year, and B, because I was hoping it would be more hyped if it didn't happen every year.
The only problem that I think we might confront next year in asking artists for donations is that there was such slow response and people were calling even as late as September asking me where their stuff was.
Yeah, where's the check?
Yeah.
And luckily, I
We have to hide from them on the street, all the people's names, like.
Well, we've fixed it now. So what I would say going forward is that we had about 20 people versus we had over 80 or 90 who donated to the art auction
Yeah.
in 2017. So I feel like when we put out the initial email or letter or whatever we choose, we write an explanation of what occurred. That's the best that we can do.
And send it to everybody. This
Yeah.
is, and give them right away the feedback that thank you very much because your piece sold and you donated to the BAC.
Right.
For people have to wait 5 months to find out, you know, what we
Right.
did is really
Mm-hmm.
kind of just not.
Maybe we could put a note in with the next ones that say that, the city of Bisbee requests that you do the W-9 form when you
And
turn
get it
in your art
Beforehand.
right away, in
Good
case there's other coming out, because,
That's a great idea.
otherwise, that was kind of a shock to me when I talked, I don't know, maybe I talked to you or somebody, that
And I
it was
also,
being held up because I
Put
had
that
to
in
put in
the
a W-9, and I'm thinking,
It was the
Artists
whole
and
thing was
lessons.
confusing.
Artists
I
and
didn't want
paperwork.
to. I didn't want to fight with finance because really, at the end, we were right. We were right. The Arts Commission was right. Finance was they kind of pushed it by saying that we had to do it, but because the final decision was that it's a request.
right.
So they should have sent everybody's checks out before. So it was sort of a.
well, we could write it
It's
up
kinda
so
like
that
a
it says if it's over
communication.
$600, this is a mandatory, that you have to do it anyway. But we request that you do it in case we have another thing you donate and your totals come up to $600, some kind of language in there.
I think it's great that we put that
Put
on
that
there
out
and,
there
and
right
request
away.
it before we even get the thing. So that's
And maybe send them have the W-9s available to the artists.
So our next
When they-
meeting, we're gonna discuss what we wanna do next time.
I think that would be a great thing to put on the agenda, and then what we can make it, we can all, look at what has happened in the last couple of years, and our successes and our failures, and come up with something that we think is gonna work really well.
Yeah, start thinking that way. I'm hoping that we make $1,271 off of our machine every year.
And it's
Or
also,
10,000.
it's good to keep up with the machine.
Yeah,
The one thing that, we can't really put a price on is the fact that it simply just gets that name out there all the time.
yeah, and on that, we need to consider what we wanna say about the BAC. There's a place for us to lightly, just to let people know what I just told you, is that when you make a purchase through this machine, proceeds of your money will go to an organization that funds, grants money to, and then to the artists that you collected.
That needs to be
Okay,
very.
just one more question. I think I had this discussion with John Charlie when he was on the council and Arts Commission stuff years ago, but when they stopped for a while, and it was said that the money was going into the general fund rather than back into the arts. Do you know anything about that? And that's why it fell apart.
I know,
No, there was money in there.
Yeah.
It didn't fall apart for their lack of money. I think it was lack of commitment maybe.
well, no, so I've heard this backstory a little bit. So something happened last year. I freaked out because I thought our money was going in the general fund.
It doesn't.
Because historically,
I
they
heard
thought
that
it had, but don't worry, it has not. Because that was what we researched and we found exactly how much money we had and where it was.
Mhm.
And it's labeled, the council cannot touch that money for anything else. And luckily we have Bill Higgins, he actually is the one that talked me down, because I was like,
Yeah.
because the budget was,
What happened
the
to
budget
Higgins?
was really confusing and where they were putting the Arts
Uh-huh.
Commission money. They only allow, at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the fiscal year, they ask, like, how much money do you wanna use this year? But all the other money is still there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just give an amount that is budgeted that will be used.
Yeah, but it's,
It doesn't go anywhere, and if we don't use the money that she budgeted, then it just stays in the pot.
Okay, it just sounded really confusing to me, you know, and I thought, what's
Yeah.
going on here?
But I think they had like not enough members,
And they were-
lack of, it was just a lot of different stuff.
there was also infighting, and John Charlie apparently wanted to use money without art commission approval to fix the Iron Man, and that was like the whole war. It was like a weird
I
war
didn't
that
hear that part of it.
Yeah, when I first joined, Jeff Shriver and a few other people in the Arts Commission filled me in about that, but don't worry,
okay.
I watched that one really,
Okay.
I didn't notice, I flipped out when I thought
She
money
did.
was. I was nice, I was just really worried, but we figured it out.
Okay.
The last agenda item was can it to next time.
Okay, the only thing, I
What
just
are
wanna-
we?
can I just say one thing about that, and that was a
Yeah.
funny way to phrase it, but,
What is that?
I'm gonna, Bill Higgins,
What's it wanna be?
Frank Davis, and myself, and a few other people are gonna be meeting with the Greenwood principal. Is it Greenwood? Greenway.
Greenway.
Greenwood Elementary.
Because they are interested in getting more arts into the schools. And that was one thing that I personally was very interested in. I love serving our artists, but our schools are so underfunded that I wanted to at least have that discussion and tell you guys that
I love that
as the
Me
Arts
too.
Commission as chair, I was gonna go into that meeting and just see what they had to say.
Oh, yeah.
They
I
want
would- I
more
would-
music
yeah.
and more
We could
visual
offer
art.
grant money to artists who will go into the schools and do work, which would be
That's-
fantastic.
And that was what they were
Perfect.
hoping for, is that getting volunteers or people who are willing to go and work with the kids. And so I think when Frank Davis gets back on the 11th, that's going to be one of the things that we do. And that was something I was really excited about because
It's really fun to get visiting artists to come into town. I've done that before with, and I did it at Lowell and Greenway, actually, Lowell and Greenway.
this is
So it
great.
can be done.
Old Bisbee, the art scene in Old Bisbee is so insular. I would love to get more things going on in.
And
The
give
other
people an
communities.
excuse to come and stay in Bisbee too, because lots of people want to.
So yeah, it's
I know the
local
schools-
artists as well as.
If we can do anything for the schools, then I would love to. So
And
Otherwise-
just doing art with kids is really fun. You don't have to have
Yeah.
a local
judgment.
the kids are
artist
just fun.
or, you know, things
It
like
could,
that.
it could just be, it could just
do
be
art.
me who's not an artist, go in and do
Right.
art with them. Yeah.
You could, it could be a dog with a paint can, it'd be fun.
The elephant.
So it's just something that I was thinking
But
of,
what's-
but we'll table that until next time for a bigger discussion. It's too much. I'm sorry about that. I tried to throw it all.
What's
we
going
had
on
such
with
a
June
busy
is
meeting
next
I
meeting
found
is
out,
gonna be
especially
January.
from going down to
No, our
the
next meeting
Cross
is December
border,
3rd.
is that when you teach them a certain
January's
thing,
gonna be when
it keeps
the
coming back.
grants are due.
Oh,
you
yeah.
go back and you
I'll
find
have
that
to-
whatever you taught them is now
I'm in the process of
integrated
integrating
into
it.
something else.
Yeah.
I'm not-
That takes-
We'll figure it out. Yeah,
I like
yeah.
to-
Oh, we'll figure it out. I'm not
I
too worried.
sometimes get myself in trouble with that
Um,
one. Yes, yes, I like that one.
I just want to move to do something.
Move to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All
Thank
in
you for your
favor?
patience. Oh,
Aye.
aye.
All of us are agreed.
I assume so, but.
Thank you,
You
Nadia.
know, Sharon, we
You
can be
are
right back
here,
for
I
this
think,
meeting.
in
Go
a
back.
minute, so.
I know, I just want to post. Well, I didn't even tell one in here, but now I
I saw him this morning, I forgot to